Have you ever stopped and wondered how things that used to feel, well, free, like just being on a piece of land, or even where you put your own attention, somehow slowly become things you have to pay for? We're going to dive into this hidden pattern today, something called enclosures, and look at how it has been quietly reshaping our world for like centuries.
Okay, so it sounds like the beginning of a weird joke, right? What do old-timey fences, your smartphone, and artificial intelligence all have in common? I mean, they seem like they're from completely different planets. But what if I told you they're all part of the exact same historical playbook? A playbook that explains everything from how factories got started to why your favorite app is designed the way it is.
The answer is they're all tools in this repeating pattern of control. It's like a blueprint that takes something that belongs to all of us and turns it into private property for just a few people. And in doing that, it completely changes how we live, how we work, and yeah, even how we think. So let's break down exactly how this pattern works.
To really get it, we need to look at the pattern itself. It's this incredibly consistent four-step process that just keeps repeating with every big new technology or social change. And trust me, once you see it, you're going to start seeing it absolutely everywhere.
So here's the blueprint. Step 1. You take a commons. That's just a shared resource, something for everyone. Step 2. You kick out the people who depend on it. Step 3. This creates a brand new dependency, forcing those same people to now pay for what they used to get for free. And finally, Step 4. You sell a really compelling story, a justification that makes the whole thing sound like inevitable progress. Let's see how this actually played out in history. All right, our first example takes us way back, a few hundred years, to the enclosure of land. And this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. This is the event that literally built the economic world we all live in today.
Before all this, for a huge number of people, life revolved around the commons. Now, this wasn't about being poor. It was about having direct access to the things you needed to live. You could graze your animals, gather wood, grow your own food. It was a whole system that gave people real security and, this is the important part, a ton of autonomy. And then, the fences went up. Over a few centuries, powerful people privatized all this common land. Millions were forced off the land their families had used for generations. With no way to support themselves, they had to flood into the cities. And here's the key takeaway. The working class wasn't some natural thing that just happened. It was created. People who were once independent were now forced to sell their labor just to survive, becoming dependent employees.
So how did they get away with it? Well, they had a great story. The whole narrative was about progress and making wasteful land more efficient and modern. But behind that story was a much simpler truth: taking a common resource from the many and giving it to the few.
Okay, let's hit fast forward and come back to our time. Because the same pattern is happening all over again. Only this time, the resource being fenced off isn't land, it's our attention. The fences aren't made of wood anymore, they're made of digital platforms and algorithms.
And the parallel here is it's wild. The land enclosure took away our material autonomy. People had to sell their physical labor to eat. Their bodies basically became part of the factory machine. Today's attention enclosure, it's leading to a loss of mental autonomy. If you want to be seen or heard, you have to trade your focus, and your mind becomes just another part of the platform's machinery. You can see exactly how it works. These platforms offer free services, right? But the real price is your attention. The algorithms control your field of vision, deciding what you see. Every single click, every like, becomes data that can be sold. And you create all the content. You're doing unpaid labor, while your attention becomes the product that they sell to advertisers.
And what's the justification this time around? Oh, it's a beautiful story about connecting the world and giving everyone a voice. It sounds amazing. The reality, though, is that while anyone can talk, the platforms are the ones who control who actually gets heard, and they're the ones capturing pretty much all the value that gets created.
And this brings us to the third enclosure, and maybe the deepest, most profound one yet. It's happening as we speak. The resource being fenced off now isn't just land or attention. It's our own cognitive capacity, our very ability to think, to create, and to solve problems.
You know, thinking used to be a universal human thing. It was our commons. But now, with these massive AI models owned by just a handful of corporations, these fundamental skills are being turned into services you have to pay for. You don't own the ability anymore, you just rent access to it through an API. Problem solving, writing, creating art, it all gets filtered through a proprietary tool that you need a subscription for.
So what happens? You're faced with this stark choice, a classic enclosure trap. If you use these new AI tools, you risk becoming totally dependent on them. and your own skills start to fade. But if you don't use them, you risk becoming totally obsolete in a world that's running on them. You're basically trapped.
And the justification? Oh, it's the most inspiring one yet. We're told AI is going to augment human intelligence and democratize expertise for all. It sounds fantastic, just like the other enclosures did. But the pattern underneath is exactly the same. A core human ability is being turned into a subscription service that's controlled by a very small group of people.
So when we pull back and look at all three of these enclosures together, the big picture really snaps into focus. These aren't just separate events in history. No, this is a cumulative process where each new enclosure builds on the foundation of the last one.
Look at how these layers stack up. The first enclosure made it so you needed a job to survive. The second one made it so you needed a platform to be seen and heard. And this third one, it's making it so you need an AI just to think effectively and compete. With each step, the space where we can act freely and autonomously just gets smaller and smaller.
And the whole system is so clever because it gives you the illusion of choice. Sure, you can choose your job, or your social media app, or your AI model. But what you can't choose is to live without a job, or without a platform, or soon, without an AI. You get to pick your landlord, but you're still paying rent one way or another.
And the final result of this pattern, it's always the same. Power gets concentrated at the top. The majority of us lose autonomy and freedom, something that was once just a part of being human, the ability to provide for yourself, to control your own focus, to think for yourself, gets turned into a product you have to buy. And any alternatives outside that new walled garden, they just disappear.
Look, recognizing this pattern isn't about rejecting technology. It's about being smart and asking the hard questions. The question isn't, is AI useful? Of course it is. The real question is whether it's going to be just another enclosure. Is it going to be used to concentrate more power and take away our autonomy, or can we actually build it differently? The pattern is crystal clear, and now that we see it, the choice is ours.